Afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. This is a webinar where we will discuss what's new in the latest software release of the Centreon platform. My name is Pierrick Martel. I'm in charge of product marketing at Centreon. And today our product managers, Laurent Pincivi, Samir Brezini, and Olivier Mercier will show you what's new in the product. At the end of their presentations, we will answer your questions. So all along the presentations, don't hesitate to ask your questions using the tools on the right-hand side. I will see the questions, and after they have presented, I will ask them the questions one by one. So be sure to stay until the end to get your answers. Centreon 2104 is our latest software versions. This is for our Centreon platform, which means that it's applicable to all editions of that platform, the open source edition, as well as the commercial editions, IT edition or business editions for enterprise, and MSP edition for the managed service providers. We release one software version every 6 months in April and October. So this is the one from April. This time around, we've been focusing on the user experience of whoever is using Centreon in their daily operations. People who are IT monitoring specialists using Centreon on a daily basis, all day long, or maybe on a 24/7 to monitor their infrastructure. So our focus was very much about the usability of the product, the efficiency, the productivity. We focused on making sure that the user experience is better. There are 4 topics that we'll cover. One about auto discovery. This is Olivier, which will present that. Samir will then present what's new in the alert management resource status user interface and the anomaly detections artificial intelligence feature. And then Laurent will tell us more about Linux and security and other things like that. So let's start with Olivier. I will wait for Olivier to join in. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Pierrick. Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to go back a few months in the past and remind what we introduced as the new feature. What was the new feature at the time? The host discovery mappers. These mappers allowed to map information that come from the discovered information towards host parameters, host macros, and could be used to decide which host template should be applied on the discovered host. It was a promising feature, but there was room for improvement. And we have tried to improve this feature. Pierrick, you can display the next part, please. We tried to improve it to fill the following needs. First, to allow users to define strict naming conventions for the created hosts. Second, to allow grouping and categorizing the discovered hosts in order to fit the network architecture and the company organization. And third, to help prioritize alert management by setting, as soon as the host is discovered and monitored, setting the right severity for the hosts. Next, thanks. What we have released in this new version tries to address that by allowing not only to map raw discovered informations to host parameters, but you can also concatenate these informations with custom strings. This way you can compose the names of the objects that you are setting with whatever format you like. Then we released also 3 new types of mappers. The first one is the host group mapper. It allows you to, either to pick an existing host group or to create on the fly new host groups that will be named according to your naming convention. Secondly, the host category mapper, which does pretty much the same, but applies to categories, to host categories, and which can as well use already existing category or a new category that will be created on the fly. I don't know if there are clients of MBI product, but if they are, I'm sure they know that it's useful to have a category, at least one category on each host. And then the last mapper is the severity one, designed to fit the third need I have expressed before, to help prioritize the alerts. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. So first, the concatenation. It should be an animated GIF. Okay.
Yeah, I have to click on the slide. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. This shows you how you can create your own naming convention. This example is about the host alias, about how to feed the host alias. So you can see we pick the host name, we add a slash, and then add the host description, and you have it in the alias field. Next.
Yeah. So everything is very well documented in the online documentation anyway.
Yes, and furthermore, all these screenshots and including the animated GIF are extracted from the documentation. Excuse me. Then the host group mapper. So this first use case is really simple. You just you pick one of the existing host group, and all the discovered hosts from your discovery job will be linked to it. Then, please, Pierrick, thank you. Then you can also create host groups using the concatenation in order to define your naming convention. So in this case, for every new type of host that will be discovered, you will have the host group will be created with the name that results of this concatenation. And of course, if the host group already exists, then the host will simply be added to it.
All right.
Now the host category. So it's pretty much the same as I told you. And for this use case, I've added a little change. I use a condition. So if let's say you have a naming convention where all your database servers contain the 3 letters SQL in their name. Well, in that case, you can define this mapper to add all the new hosts named blah blah SQL blah blah to the DB server host category, and then you will be able to generate MBI reports that will take this new servers into account as soon as they are created without having to do it manually.
Great.
This other use case is much simpler, but uses the creation ability. So here it will create a new category for each new type of host discovered. So it can be Linux, it can be Windows, it can be Cisco. No, I can't predict all the values that the result type will be. It depends of the host you discover, of the discovery provider as well. So I don't want to care. I just want to create a category for each new type of host.
Right.
Next, please. And the last use case for the third host discovery mapper type is inspired by a real life example. I've met a client who had this naming convention where hosts that were redundant were named with a name ending with -01, -02, etc. And if there was no redundancy, it was -00. Or for VIP address, it was also -00. So, given this information, you understand that a host with a -00 name is more important, more critical than a host without this termination. So this is a real use case that could be addressed with this new feature.
Great. So all kind of possibilities here with these new mappers that everybody can use for their own, usage and terminology and so on and so forth. So this is part of this auto discovery engine, but the mappers is a sub feature of auto discovery, which means that it's applicable to all commercial editions. It's not applicable to the open source version. That includes IT 100, which is the free version limited to 100 hosts of our IT edition. All the discovery rules are included in the plugin packs. Our plugin pack library, there are no, 287 discovery rules, last time we counted. And these auto discovery rules apply to cloud environments such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, or private cloud technologies, or SD-WAN or Wi-Fi. And we are growing this number of discovery rules or plugin packs every month. What's coming next on that subject in the 12 coming months? Well, one thing is we want to, better insert Centreon into the latest infrastructure as code environment with a new API v2. This API version 2 of our REST API exists for real-time monitoring, but it doesn't exist for configuration. So we plan in the coming 12 months, to develop this API, and that will maybe include also a command line interface, a little tool that can run on any platform connecting to this API. And also, Samir is about to show us, the new resource status user interface which is much more modern than in the past, and we want to apply the same modern user experience concept to the configuration user interface where you create new hosts and services. So that's part of the plans for the coming months. Thank you, Olivier, and I will now ask Sam to share his screen.
You should have my screen
yes,
at the moment.
I can see your screen, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Pierre. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for being with us today. As Olivier was saying earlier, this version is really focused on how we can improve the daily operations of the guy behind the screen and keyboard, and managing the IT infrastructure and solving all the problems and everything. And obviously, the main gateway for this user is the resources status page. This is where you come and have a look at everything that is going well, or more specifically going wrong, and you want to fix it as quickly as possible. And this demands for you to identify it and everything. And so we gathered everything, all the feedback we had for a year now. The first version is almost a year old now for this page. So we gathered all the feedback and we built upon it to vastly improve this page. So the first thing you can notice is, if you're familiar with the page already, is it's much more compact at the moment. So you can fit much more content, many more events in the same view, diminishing the requirement of scrolling right away to see more events, obviously. The second improvement we did was to make this page much more holistic. So you previously had access to hosts and services, and now we've added meta services. So now these are the three types of resources you can manage in a single view. The next thing you will notice is we vastly improve as well the filtering capabilities. Now you can filter by, for instance, monitoring server, which was the main one missing from the earlier versions of the page. Also, every parameter on the page, the filters you've set, etc., are now saved either within your local storage or within the URL of the page, which makes the whole experience much more easier to share. So if I'm looking at a specific component, a specific resource, and I'm looking at a specific period in time and with a specific set of parameters, and I want to share that with a colleague, then all I have to do is share the URL and he will get the same view I am getting. This was a huge demand from the community as well. Other thing now is we've added the possibility to customize the columns. So the first feedback we had was, how can we make fit much more intel within the page? The second one was the type of intel. So now you can have access to new columns and you can decide which column you want to display or not, which ones you want to hide, and you can obviously sort, filter, and reorder. So we'll see all that. And finally, but not least, the graph engine has been completely revamped and now looks absolutely different and has much more capabilities. This was a huge demand as well, because the first thing you want to do when you have a problem is giving it context and see what happened before, what could have been the cause and everything. And this is where you spend most of your time navigating the graph and see what happens through time as the problem was developing. So next step is for us to view this live. So you should be seeing my screen, Pierre, if you can confirm now.
Yes, we see your
Great,
demo.
thank you. Great. So this is straight out of the demo of Centreon. So if you go on demo.centreon.com, this is what you get. And so we talked about, the capability of ordering and deciding what columns I want to add or subtract, and there are new columns compared to the previous versions. So this is where it happens. We can talk about the notification column, for instance, showing you which services have disabled notifications, for instance. You have the monitoring server, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you can at any point just reset the whole thing and going back to default and come at it again from a different angle if needed. So we talked about the filters. Everything is available right here, and you can select the filters you want to see. And here, filter, there's only just one monitoring server on the demo, but obviously this is where you'll get your own monitoring servers, and you can narrow the scope of your search. Other capabilities, so we talked about the new graphical engine. So if I get to a graphical engine, immediately you can notice a new thing. So now the right side panel is movable, and it can be expanded from right to left. And so the first thing you will notice is this section here, which allows you to have a fine control over the time period to consider. And so as you can see, there's a selector here with 3 default values chosen with the community and the users. So obviously you have the last day, the last 7 days, or the last 31 days, which is the last month basically. And as you can see, immediately the graph just refreshes instantly. So on top of that, we added here a clear selector for customize date times. So let's say I want to select a different starting point. Well, then all I have to do is use the date time picker. And there you have it. The graph is immediately sorry, immediately refreshed, and I can get access to the intel I wanted to look at. Now, as you can see, there's a huge improvement on the metric value display. Now we are using the display within the legend. So our goal here was to make the graph much more leaner and have much more space to it, give it much more space without losing information. And this is how we were able to do it. We moved from the tooltip to the legend, and now you can see the metric value as I move within the over the curves, as I hover over the curves, and you have right here underneath the title the time value. And when I'm not hovering over the graph, then I get access to static values about the metric, minimum, maximum, and average, for instance. And so this is the main improvements regarding the metric values. Now we added possibilities to navigate through time. And for instance, if I go to the left or to the right, as you can see, on hovering, there are new buttons that appear and they allow you to translate in time by half of the time measure you have underneath. So if I click on the right here, I'm moving forward in time by half the period I'm looking at, and reverse backwards in time if I click on the left side. And so on top of that, you have one last that was missing hugely was the ability to zoom in time, basically. And so this is how it goes. It's just a simple selection and I can move in time. So these are the main improvements we had. Obviously, these were made thanks to the help of the customers, and any feedback our customers still have, and if we can still improve on that, all feedbacks are welcome. All these improvements are included in all editions. They are part of the core of the product, so including the open source edition. And these will be complemented in the next minor versions of the 21.4 version. And one of the things we will be adding will be the business activities. So I cited the host services and meta services, and the last one missing will be the business activities. And there we will have a really completely holistic view of the resources within Centreon. Another main focus that started with the 21.4 and will be vastly improving as well is having a keen eye on performance and making sure our platform behaves just as well for a small infrastructure and a really big infrastructure as well. Many more clients have requirements regarding huge infrastructures, and we want to make sure the product still remains performant even at these scales. So
we lost you.
Sorry, beg your pardon. Bigger battery problems. That's fixed now. So what do we have in the next 12 months coming? So this work we've done, as Pierre hinted earlier, is just the first part of a vast work we have, which is revamping the whole UX experience within Centreon and making sure that whatever you do, and this is much more than just the single page, we call it modern dashboarding. Whatever you're trying to do is fast and efficient. And this is the powerful experience we're designing. And so it includes the custom views, for instance, that will be completely reworked, all the widgets and everything. So this is a whole revamping of the UX within Centreon. The other main work we have for the 12 coming month is the map server. So for those of you who have been using, we have had this server for many years now, and it's time for him to retire, and we have a new version already available internally. We're working on making sure everything is neat and getting it ready for the 21.10. So the aim at the moment is to completely revamp and put the new version, which has absolutely nothing to do with the last one, much more performant, much faster, and completely compatible with new technologies. For instance, we got rid of the desktop client and we have only a web client and so on. So these are the main improvements regarding the 12 months coming. Now, moving on. Sorry, I thought Pierre-Eric, you wanted to say something.
No, I wanted to say great.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next topic.
So moving on to the next topic, it's anomaly detection. So a year from now, we launch, and I think it was Pierrick and myself as well. Last year, we launched for the first time the beta program, the trial for the feature within the product. Throughout the year, we have been working with many clients, and some of you may be here today. So we thank you greatly for the work you put together, and you keep putting, by the way. And so what we have been doing for the past year is making sure the promise of anomaly detection, which is basically making your life easier and giving you new capabilities within the product, was delivered. We also worked on the machine learning fine-tuning, and this was a huge step for us internally, making sure we have the pipeline and everything set up so that we can continuously improve our algorithms and make sure they are much more resilient, and so they are less prone to having good results only on specific situations, and they can adapt to various situations as you all have different cases in your own infrastructure. And finally, we've been working on how to deliver this within the product in a performant way, which is through our Centreon cloud architecture. And this is something we have been working a lot on and improved vastly through the past year. So thank you once again to all those who have given us valuable input. So now anomaly detection has come to a new phase where we are able to share this feature with the public at large. And so all acquirers of a business edition in 21.4 version can now have access to the anomaly detection. And as a reminder, there's the webinar we did, Pierrick and myself. It's still available, and if you want a refresher about how anomaly detection works and the benefits of it and everything, we invite you to go have a look at it. And if you have any questions, you can contact us. We will gladly answer. So now that it's available to everyone, what does it mean? Well, it means whatever your subscription is, 10% of your subscription in number of hosts is given for free as metrics compatible with anomaly detection. So if I have a subscription with 1,000 hosts, then I have for free 100 metrics I can put through anomaly detection at any given time. At the moment, this amount is the maximum you can have, and we are working on making sure if you have great value from it, you can subscribe for more and have a billing coming into play and everything. So this is the next step regarding this feature. So all in all, anomaly detection is now for free and given 10% of your amount of hosts subscribe. It's available immediately to business editions in 21.4. It will be very soon coming to the MSP edition. We're working on it very actively. And the access is still as easy as before. If you were part of the program, for instance, it's really easy. Now you acquire at 21.4, you receive a token, the procedure to insert the token within your product, and you run. And then all you have to do is start using it. And to that effect, we built a new module that will help you use the feature. So going back to the online demo, we will see the module in effect. So going to my services, and I want to use anomaly detection. You will notice here there's a new option allowing you to have Centreon itself suggesting compatible metrics. So quickly, a few hints from the past webinar. We talked about the metrics that are good candidates for anomaly detection. We talked about stability and seasonality and so on. You need to have a pattern within your metric. Well, this is what Centreon does now as an embedded feature. And we developed the following module that analyzes the services you have available on your platform and then basically puts a score on it. So we use two different metrics, as I said, seasonality and stability. The scoring itself is not the most important at the moment, and we are working with the users as to how we can make this clearer. For the moment, we are going with a 5-star system, for instance. And so obviously a 5-star metric is more compatible a priori, I would say, than a 4-star metric and so on. And so it's very easy to use. I have a look at the metrics. I know I can see the suggested metrics, the ones I know and I feel are useful, and I can have.
We lost you again.
Yeah, sorry, back. And we can have a quick look at the metric here with the graph. And all I have to do if I want to add the metric to my anomaly detection pool, well, is click here on add, and the form is already pre-configured, and all I have to do is just save. And once I've done that, then I have immediately access to the metric within, I'm going to say here, and look at the metrics we have on the demo. And as you can see, now you have the metric and also the graph of the metric showing you the prediction versus the real-time value and so on. And so this is all you need if you want to have a quick start with anomaly detection. So that being said, this is just an anomaly detection, and the way it is implemented at the moment is just the first step. We are already working on improving the module I showed you. So as I said, we're talking about improving the scoring system and how we can suggest better metrics and so on. But beyond that, anomaly detection is but the first feature of the huge capabilities offered by AI ML field, and machine learning has much more to offer. And already we are working internally on capacity planning, for instance, cluster anomaly, root cause analysis, and so much more. All this is in the works, and all this will be available in the next 12 months. This is the plan we have at the moment. And we're also working, as I said, on the billing capabilities so that if you have great value out of the services, well, you can have access to more. Thank you, and Pierre.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam, for all this explanation. There will be maybe some questions afterwards. Please don't hesitate if you have questions. Just use the tool and ask the questions, and we'll answer them. I will now share the screen of Laurent. Let me do that here. I think we are about it. Tell me, Laurent, if you...
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Right. Yes, I can see you.
Hi, everybody. So let's continue with the Centreon Platform. As you know, from several months, maybe years, we try to improve the security of the Centreon Platform. So if you check in the release notes of the latest Centreon minor version, you can see that we are fixing some security issue. Centreon since 2010, it's available for Enterprise Linux in version 7 and 8. So for this version 21.04, we are also compatible with Enterprise Linux 7 and 8. So you can use CentOS, Oracle Linux, or Red Hat Enterprise Server in version 7 or 8 to install your new platform. And this is available for all Centreon editions, so Open Source, IT Edition, Business, and MSP Edition. Our documentation.
Just a small interruption. A few people can't see your screen. These are the people who are connected with the web client instead of GoToWebinar client. I'm not sure. It's a bug with GoToWebinar. I'm not sure we can do something.
Okay.
It's a matter of reconnecting to the web client or something like that.
Let me try to.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
But most people can see your screen. It's a few people using the web client.
Okay. I'm so sorry, but everything I will talk is available in our documentation. I will talk about what improvement we perform in our documentation. So, as I told you, if you want to install a new server, in the documentation, you have a command for Enterprise Linux 8 or Enterprise Linux 7. So you can install an Oracle Linux 8 to install the new version if you want. Okay. The second point, okay, just to notice, Centreon still available, still compatible with Linux edition, but in open source edition. So you can install Centreon on Debian, on SUSE, on other Linux edition if you want, but only for the open source edition. For this major version 21.4, we used to upgrade to PHP 7.3 and to MariaDB 10.5. So if you want to upgrade to the 21.4, of course, we improved the documentation, and in the procedure to upgrade from a previous version to the last one, we explain you how to upgrade PHP, then how to upgrade MariaDB to the latest version. Just a notice, if you are using CentOS v7, PHP will be updated in the same time of Centreon packages. But if you use Enterprise Linux 8, you need to perform before to enable PHP before to perform Centreon update. Okay, let's continue. So this notice for Enterprise Linux 8 and 7. Yes, I was talking about security. So I used to say it previously, we focus to fix all severity that our community and partner can give us. Our partner perform a penetration test and give us a result, and so we try to fix most quickly as possible all vulnerabilities. So please keep up to date your Centreon platform. We improve the security chapter. First, we add a link after each kind of server installation to securize the server, so to access to the security chapter. And we add in the security chapter how to enable firewall and give you example of rules to enable your firewall. And we add a chapter to configure fail2ban. Fail2ban will allow you to detect brute force authentication and to ban the IP try to make brute force for several times. As you can define the time. So let's go back to the documentation. So in the security chapter is now on the top of table of content, and in this security chapter you have instruction to enable firewall D, and example of rules for a central server and rules for a poller. And you have a subchapter how to install and enable fail2ban to block brute force authentication. And now we have SLLinux packages for 20.10 and 21.4. So you can install SLLinux, you can enable SLLinux and install Centreon SLLinux packages for all version and for all kind of server. So let's go back to the documentation. And you can see that we have a chapter, enable SLLinux, so description of what is SLLinux. First, enable SLLinux in permissive mode. Then install packages regarding the type of your server. It's a central, a poller, a map server, an MBI server. Check if everything is okay. Then let's continue to use your platform during 2 or 3 weeks and check the audit log file. If you find any errors, you can enable SLLinux in enforcing mode because you are sure that all action you perform every day are okay, and the SLLinux rules cover everything. And if you have errors, you can analyze the errors and check the proposed rules. And if you have a doubt, you can contact us on GitHub with the result of this command, and we can help you, or we can improve the Centreon SLLinux rules for the future. Okay, so what next is coming for the 12 months? We would like for the half the second half of this year to have a Debian packages for the open source edition. Then for the first half of next year to have Debian packages for all edition, IT edition, business edition, MSP edition. Then for the future version of Centreon, the 21.10, we will move to PHP v8 because PHP 7.3 will be end of life at the end of this year. So we will move for the next version of Centreon to the next version of PHP. And we are rewriting the authentication system in Centreon to strengthen it and to more securize the platform. Okay, that's end for me.
All right. Thank you, Laurent, for all these explanations. It's now time for question and answer. And in fact, so you can still ask your questions, and I will see that. But let's talk about SE Linux. We have a question about SE Linux. The question is, so should you install without SE Linux and then later activate it? Can you go back to this part of your explanations, please?
Yes, you can enable SE Linux after the installation. In fact, we currently, if you go to the installation, we keep the fact that you need to disable SE Linux, but at the end of the installation chapter, you go to the secure chapter, and in the secure chapter, we enable all action you have to perform to secure your server. So you have to secure accounts, then enable SE Linux.
All right. So at first you disable it, and then at the end you go through the security chapter, apply all actions, and one of them is enable SE Linux. Is that right? All right. Good. Okay, let me go back to a question about auto discovery. So this is for Olivier. Is it possible to re-execute the auto discovery to already configured host? And that would be to apply all the new rules like add host categories, etc. And Olivier is in mute for now. The answer is no, but I would have preferred Olivier to tell me. Okay,
Yes, thank you, Pierre. I had to refresh in order to see
yes,
Laurent's
yes,
screen, so it was muted again. No, unfortunately, you can't. It only allows to create hosts and not at the moment. It's not suitable for updating hosts.
All right. So it's only for new hosts being discovered, but doesn't apply to the already discovered host. All right. Then we have a question about for Sam. You know, you've shown the resource status and the new engine for graphs, and explaining that you could download the image. And the question is, what is the format of the image if you download it?
Yes, it's a PNG file, and it's what you see is what you get file. So as you saw earlier, you can expand and retract the panel on the side, and so the export you make will reflect exactly what you have on the screen regarding the graph.
Okay, very good. Then we have a question about the evolution of the map. So you talk about the map server and then the map client. Today it's a Java client. Will this be the same technology, or what kind of technology will you use in the future?
No, so we won't be using the desktop client at all in any shape or form. So we're absolutely retiring the desktop client, which was relying on Java. We're still using a bit of Java. So now we're moving to a web client, and it's a mix of Java, React, and everything. But it's all web technologies, so absolutely embedded within your browser.
Okay. A question maybe for Laurent. Can you update platform from 19.10 directly to 2104?
Of course, yes, you can. In the documentation, you have procedure to upgrade from Centreon 2.8 to 21.4. So, of course, yes, you have all regarding where you are. You have a procedure to migrate to the latest one.
All right, thank you. Well, I think this is it for the questions. I'm just looking, if you have a last question, that's time for now. Let's wait a few seconds. No more questions. Well, we are just on time then. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Olivier, Sam, and Laurent for your presentations. You will receive, I think, the recording of this webinar. And should you have, any more questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you all, and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
You.